Good morning, right here from the capital of the country. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. Thank you very much for choosing to kickstart your day with us right here at Look Up TV. We have a jam-packed session for you this morning. Let me just give you a teaser of our main conversation this morning. I'll be telling you who will be joining us shortly in the studio to discuss that. It is basically about the 10 promise agenda that the teachers were given just the other day when they visited State House. Well, apart from the 10,000 shillings they received, we'll be getting proper stories on why they were given the 10,000 shillings. This morning, though, we are going to look at those 10 promises that they were given. Top of those promises were how the teachers were given promises ranging from shorter CBS cycles, mass recruitment of 24,000 new teachers, improved medical cover and faster pension payments, and to a 20% housing allocation in the affordable housing scheme. Proper these ones were. And they were received with proper applause from the teachers, but they also come against a backdrop of deep challenges in the education sector. If you do know, right now in the country, there's a tussle with secondary school teachers in the country, with junior secondary school teachers in the country. Junior secondary school teachers, they're asking for proper recognition. They're all asking for a proper placement of those schools separately from secondary school housing in the country. So we'll be seeing exactly how that goes this morning. There are also proper underfunding of classrooms in the country as well, with capitation lagging behind. Enrollment growth and the competency-based curriculum rollout has been marred by disputes over junior secondary school staffing and qualification requirements as well. Here's the thing that we do know. Teachers in many counties in the country are still struggling with delayed promotions, inadequate training and poor infrastructure. Pension delays, insurance loopholes and disputes over leadership requirements for head teachers also remain unresolved. As the government doubles down on these promises, the question that I'm going to ask this morning is whether they are realistic, affordable and transformative, or whether they are political optics that fail to address the structural issues at the heart of the education sector in the country. This morning, we look at the state of the education sector in the country. Get your views and comments coming in this morning. There's just so much that we're going to look at so that we give you a proper scope of this conversation. I'll be introducing a teacher, a researcher, and also a transformative person in the education sector this morning. I'll be introducing him once he walks into the studio so that we get into those conversations. Teachers who are listening to us this morning, what are the problems that are befalling the education sector, especially the CBE curriculum, and also the placement of the junior secondary education in the country? What do you think that the government needs to do differently? We'll be talking about that this morning. You can also get to be involved and also be a part of the conversation. Talk to us at Look Up TV across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. This morning then, let's jump into what it is that you're waking up to this morning in your daily. So much that we are saying, and as usual, I'm going to start with the Daily Nation this morning, and it's talking about, again, teachers, police facing SHA medical crisis. I'll just give you a snapshot of this particular story. This is what they're saying. It is worth 33 billion amount private hospitals are owed by the state for treating Kenyans under the defunct NHIF scheme. That is the amount of money that is owed. And remember, when we cross over from an NHIF to the current SHA, there was the promise that all the debts that were owed under NHIF was supposed to be swallowed by SHA. And we do remember, the promise was that SHA was going to raise so much money that all the debts that were owed under NHIF were going to get swallowed. As it stands, it looks as if there is no going back on that, because it is 33 billion shillings worth of debts that are now being carried over into the current scheme that is SHA. And this is what they're saying, that hospitals affiliated with the Rural Urban Private Hospitals Associations, RUFA, have warned they will not treat teachers and police officers when they transition from their current insurer to the Social Health Authority, SHA, in December, citing rising deaths. Now, the private hospitals are already demanding cash upfront from other patients using the SHA cover of a similar failure by government to settle their claims. That story, by the way, has been covered on page 2 of the Daily Nation, and you're going to realize that those are some of the stories that we're going to cover this morning in our conversation, whether indeed these are some of the promises that the president gave the teachers and how they are going to solve it once they get to solving those issues. That story has been covered on page 2 of the Daily Nation this morning. How is it going to go? Because remember, SHA hasn't really been with us for quite a long period. They are still within the implementation phase. And so you wonder whether indeed, whether this is going to be a problem once then they start implementing some of these promises that even the president is putting across to the teachers this morning. Remember, it's been 2 weeks, and part of those promises, by the way, were also falling on this as well. It's going to be interesting then to see how this is resolved once December comes. And 33 billion debt, that's a lot. Question is going to be, where is the government going to find this money to pay these hospitals what they owe before then the hospitals start treating the teachers and the police in the country? Page 2 of the Daily Nation this morning. Also, another story here is on Raila is speaking. He's saying no deal on Ruto re-election. Just a lot in the political field, because remember, Raila Amolo Odinga has already said that he's going to stick with one Dr. President William Ruto all the way into the 2027 elections. And this party is saying this morning there's a dilemma as ODM marks the 20th anniversary. The party has been the face of opposition, finds itself at a crossroads owing to a partnership agreement with the ruling party and the appointment of 5 members to President Ruto's cabinet. The deal has torn the party into 2 factions, for and against Ruto's re-election, prompting the ODM leader Raila Odinga to declare that his outfit has not resolved to back the incumbent and asking members to cease premature campaigns. That story has been covered on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation. And by the way, this is one Raila Amolo Odinga going back on his word, because you don't have to dig so deep to find him saying that he's going to stick with one president, William Ruto, all the way into the 2027 general elections. No, you don't have to dig so deep. So read that story right here on page 4 and 5. And let me give you this quote from one Raila Amolo Odinga himself. He's saying, we have not passed any resolution as a party to say how we're going into the elections of 2027. So whatever you are, don't commit the party to some things that have not been discussed. Who told you that our ODM will not have a candidate in a 2027? Is that ice cracking? Are we sort of seeing those party lines into 2027? It's an interesting conversation here. It's an interesting debate. What do you think? Talk to us as well at Look Up TV across all your social media platforms. By the way, Raila Amolo Odinga has said he's going to stick with President William Ruto all the way to 2027. This is him going back on now on. Yeah? And this is yesterday when in a parliamentary group meeting at Nairobi yesterday. This is where the comments are coming from. Interesting. So we're going to read that story on page 4 and 5. There's also a story here on our fake. Before we get to this story, there's a story here also on peacekeeping, on Ruto decrying Kenyan police fighting gangs in Haiti with a little aid. That story has been covered on page 11. On how President criticizes the international community, citing inadequate resources for the mission. That's what he's saying, including second-hand armored vehicles that frequently broke down. That story has been covered on page 11. Pretty much. The story of Haiti also did pick up some proper ground in the country. There was a lot of opposition about that mission in Haiti, and you can see the president is also complaining about how the international community has not really come up to give that mission the lift that it requires. Page 10 here, interesting story on how fake letter cost farmers 6 billion shillings land. You're going to read that story on page 10 as well this morning. On that note then, let me cross over to the Standard so we can also see some of the stories that they have covered this morning. It's interesting, this is what they're saying. Today, we reveal the face of the British soldier whose extradition from the United Kingdom has been ordered by Kenya's High Court. He is accused of robbing a 5-month-old baby of a mother, a family of their daughter, and an Anyuki community of a young woman who lost her life at just 21. Agnes Wanjiru's spirit still cries for justice, and a major obstacle is the lengthy UK extradition process that is tied up in courts and the Secretary of State. But the first step lies with Kenya's Director of Public Prosecutions. It's a story again that we've also seen over time again on the British soldiers' activities in the country as well. Now this also is in the back of the ruling that majority of families are going to get compensated. Now, these are bigger stories that are coming out of these stories that we've been following also at lookuptv.co.ke and across our social media platforms, that is Lookup TV. It's interesting how we're going to say this is what the quote that they've carried here. The British trained lawyer, that is Peter Wema, who's saying this morning that Kenyan prosecutors must present strong evidence that meets UK legal standards for extradition. That's what they're saying. Even if the judge is convinced, the Secretary of State may refuse to order an extradition in the case where the offense the accused is charged with could lead to a death penalty. Interesting stories there that are coming from the overall stories that we're getting as to what led to the compensation drive that majority of families in this region are also going to use. But in cases now where there's death involved, like this particular story here, it's going to be interesting to see how the head of prosecutions in the country then works with the UK government to see if indeed this guy was part of the entire battalion is going to be extradited into the country so that proceedings then can follow. Interesting story here. Good. There's a story here on SHA. Again, SHA crisis leaves patients stranded nationwide. Most private hospitals suspended services under the Social Health Authority. SHA over 75 billion shillings in unpaid reimbursements, leaving patients stranded. Many seeking healthcare, were turned away after facilities refused to accept the SHA cover. Story has been covered on page 2 of the Standard this morning. These headlines about SHA have been many. So the question that we're asking this morning is it really working if indeed hospitals are turning patients away from treatment over claims that it is not a scheme that they would wish to support, or indeed it is not working at all? Talk to us as well. Have you tried to receive treatment using SHA, and have you paid for it? What have the hospitals been telling you? Talk to us at Lookup TV across all your social media platforms. Our WhatsApp numbers are right there on your screen this morning. Good. Then quickly, before we jump into our big conversation this morning, let me see what it is that you're talking about this morning, Ben. I don't know whether we should be talking about football this morning. I do not know whether we should be talking about football this morning, because indeed, if you are a football fan, then you do know that the Ballon d'Or was yesterday. Yes. And guess who won it? Ousmane Dembele. I mean, congratulations to him. But then, what is Cole Palmer doing in position 7? I don't know. Chelsea fans, talk to us this morning. So you want to tell us that he was better than Vinicius Jr. the entire of last season? Yeah? Was better than the likes of Rice? Was better than the likes of Saka? Of course, Saka was injured. But then, was he better than Harry Kane? Was he better than Harry Kane? Yeah? I don't know. Position 7? I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. Rafinha is trending, and we don't know why he's trending. It's because of Ballon d'Or as well. Came position 5 for those who are following. Yeah? Good. Arsenal, we did have Victor Gyökeres, but then it was in position 15. But this is not from his time at Arsenal. It was his time with the Sporting Lisbon. Man United, you didn't have any representative, and I don't think you'll ever. Yeah, I don't think you'll ever. Same thing to Liverpool. Liverpool had Mo Salah at position 4. Yeah, only thing that stopped Mo Salah from winning it is Liverpool didn't win the Champions League last season. Probably had he gone all the way to the semis or the finals, then Mo Salah might have easily scooped it. Yeah, but congratulations to Ousmane Dembele, because had they won Club World Cup, by the way, they would have swept every possible trophy that they were supposed to win last season. Good, that's it. We're done with football this morning. We wait for the weekend to see whether we can talk about Man United and Chelsea again. But I can see Adani trending, and we do know why. These were the comments of one Raila Amolo Odinga from yesterday, when he said that indeed what Adani was going to do, it would have improved the state of our airports in the country. This rattled Kenyans in the wrong way, you know. This is what he said. People were interested in the JKI deal, were behind the anti-Adani protests, Raila Amolo Odinga said yesterday. And you do know that this man essentially who's been pushed so far with his corruption charges in majority of the juries that he's done his projects. We cancelled all of them when we went, you know, across the country, saying that he wasn't supposed to be given those deals. And this is what Raila Amolo Odinga said. Adani was to better our airport, not to take it from us. We have missed this because of some parties. Then he goes on to say, shame on them. Do you agree as well? Talk to us this morning as well. We'd like to hear your sentiments this morning. Let me just read a couple of your responses on this. This is Chege who's saying, if Adani was to better our airport, why have you people refused to make public the lease agreement? Ama mnatuonanga washenzi. I'm not going to use the exact word that he used there. This is Chege. Thomas Sankara was saying this morning, so Raila says Adani was to better our airport, not to take it from us. Let's be honest, every time these mega deals come up, the story is always the same. Politicians package them as development partnerships, while behind the scenes they are about control, capture, and kickbacks. Goes on to say, airports are national assets. They should serve Kenyans, not become playgrounds for billionaires who already own half the world. That's according to Chege this morning on this particular story for Adani. Let me see again. Is there anything that we're talking about this morning? I think Martha Karua is also trending this morning, and I'd like to see exactly where we are. Yes, she was celebrating her 68th birthday yesterday, and then majority of Kenyans then went online to, you know, wish her happy birthday. So from us at Look Up TV as well, we would like to say happy birthday, one Mother Karua. First of women politics in the country, you would say. That's my opinion. I don't know what your opinion is. Good. So we take a tiny breather. Once we come back, then I can see our guest is in the studio this morning. Let's talk about those 10 promises that the teachers were given by the president. Are they still holding water? Are they anything to go by? Once we come back right here at Look Up TV.
people are there to belittle you. When people are questioning you,
if you don't move fast, of course, yes, you lose it, but then it's not us to push you.
But you do not know the God who has been molding me. What has he been doing to me?
The deep and mature conversations of empowerment for you with a curious mind and an appetite for oriented conversations.
I concur with what you're saying.
You plan your finances, you can easily live without a debt.
An engaging safe space of free expression and truthfulness with an upheld vibrance, motivation and happiness.
So many children who are there, they are not living their dreams.
Join us for deep conversations with Zipporah Gashushe every Saturday from 8 p.m. The Deeper Conversations on Look Up TV.
For you to forgive someone who has hurt you?
How easy is it?
What are some tips, a person can apply to improve their public speaking skills?
We all have personality lazy somewhere around us.
In my mind, whenever I'm invited for a public speaking event, I don't like to put a lot of, accessories or too many colors.
What are the major things to look out when choosing a school for a child?
Another cheesy conversation starter is, men do this a lot. Men look familiar. Have we met before?
Oh.
No, we met in
Nobody is buying that line again.
No, we don't. We don't buy it anymore.
Do you need a dose of hope? If so, you are in the right place. We think of ourselves around here as hope dealers, delivering truth, power, and inspiration to hearts and minds all over the world. If nothing else has worked for you, why not give the God thing a try? For it's in the presence of God that you'll find everything that you need. Amen.
Back to the morning drift. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. Guess what? We are ready to look at those promises that the president gave teachers in the country just a fortnight ago. Good promises, and we could see those agreements were proper on paper, like they say. Let me just speak in football terms, on paper. Some teams look fantastic. On the ground, things might be different. I will ask Man City and Arsenal, they'll tell you what that is really in football terms. All right, thank you. So what we're talking about this morning is basically the state of education in the country and the president's pledges to teachers. Just before I introduce the guest then, let me tell you what those pledges were. Number one, the president backed teachers' demand to shorten the collective bargaining agreement review cycles from 4 years to 2 years. That's exactly what some of them were. Mass recruitment, 24,000 new teachers promise, improved medical cover and a faster pension payments, a 20% housing allocation in the affordable housing scheme. Well, the teachers celebrated when they were given these promises, all right? But what we do know on the ground is that Kenyan classrooms are massively underfunded, with capitation lagging behind enrollment growth, and the competency-based curriculum rollout has been marred by disputes over junior secondary school staffing and qualification requirements. So this morning then, what we're going to do is give you a proper scope of what those promises were, and I ask the question, can they be delivered? And joining us this morning then to talk about this conversation is an education advocate and a researcher. His name, Peter Munga. Can you tell me how you pronounce the last name?
Amunga Ahanyalabandu.
Ahanyalabandu. Fantastic. I'm not going to say it. Karibu sana. It's been a while, man.
Yeah, as long as I was here.
Yes.
You don't invite me. That's why
Just one. There's a lot that we're going to talk about, especially
Yes.
based on these promises.
Please,
Now
please.
we're going to look at this scorecard.
Thank you, sir.
Fantastic. So let's begin, and I'd like to begin from a very basic point. You were at State House 2 weeks ago.
We got our invitation.
Yes.
I happen to work for an organization known as Kenya Women Teachers Association.
Yes.
I happen to be one of the researchers there, and our organization received some invites. Yes, some of us were not able to attend, but I happened personally to be there.
Yes.
And listen to what was going on.
That's it.
Yes.
So the first question I was told to ask you is this: did it have for you to go to State House before you get these 10 promises that the president gave to you? Did it have to take for you to go to State House?
Actually, it didn't need to take all of us to go there. Maybe some of us could have gone there, maybe our union officials, maybe those who, the state organizations and corporations like TSC and SRC. We didn't need to go there because those promises could be made anywhere else. So going there was maybe just for us to just show some kind of solidarity with the president, maybe. But otherwise, that could be done with in other places.
Yes. Let's confirm this, because I think you're the one who's going to give us the entire clear picture of how the events were. We got reports that every teacher who went to State House received 10,000 shillings.
Yes.
What was the money meant for, and what were you told? Why are we getting 10,000 shillings?
Those are very hard questions. Okay, I received a message on my phone that we'll be at the State House by 3 a.m. It was a Saturday morning. So those who are coming from up country, personally I was just coming from Nairobi, but those who are coming from up country had traveled through the night. Our buses were parked outside the State House girls' gates, and we were vetted in to get in. That is at around 3 to 4 a.m., 5 a.m., most of us were seated. So the president appeared around 8, 9, and he addressed us. But we had some very heavy breakfast in the tents. You know, we ate well. You know, also it's African culture that if somebody is visiting you, that you will have to give them something to eat, some breakfast.
Yes.
So we were visiting the big house on the hill, and we expected to eat, and of course we ate something. We ate some wonderful breakfast. Yes, you've asked after the address, what followed was now maybe reimbursement, maybe our fare, maybe our transport, maybe our just appreciation that we had attended and we had visited the big house. We can't leave empty-handed, so we had to wait in line. Unfortunately, it took so long because it was what 10,000 of us, and we were being paid according to the alphabetic order. So if your name starts with A, like mine, Ahanya Labandu, yes, I'm lucky, I may get it earlier. But if your name is the Bedeo or Simba, you may leave. Most of them left the State House the next day in the morning, which was Sunday.
And that's what got Kenyans speaking. That on that particular day, the president spent upwards of 100 million shillings in just 2 days of that visit to State House. Some critics said 100 million shillings would have kick-started solving some of the issues that the teachers were promised on that particular day. Maybe I should ask you this question. Did you also get the sense of that, hey, maybe you should have used this 100 million shillings plus that you've used today to host the teachers here to solve some of the issues that you're promising them here today?
Correct. You know, my position as a researcher and a person who has been in the class for quite some years, number of years, I can say yes, actually, when you come to think about it, we didn't need to spend all the time we spent there. First of all, the teaching time that most of us are supposed to be in class, we are preparing our students to do the final exams. Traveling to State House, then traveling back to our stations. Some of us took 3-4 days to go back to Turkana, wherever. Actually, some of us were absent from school for the next week. They said the 10,000 in our pocket made us a bit lazy to wake up the next week to go to class. So it's not just about the money. It's also about time. The English person says time is money. So apart apart from just the money we received, the time we spent going there, the time we spent also being there, all this time when put together is a lot of money.
Yes.
And it's a lot of money to the classroom our students, our teachers themselves also. That money could have done a lot more in the education sector. As I speak to you right now, capitation in most schools has not come through. One of the promises the president made, of the ones we have been reading, was that capitation now, the backlog of the capitation that we have had, will be paid in 2 tranches, and in the two financial years.
Yes.
But as I speak, even the capitation for this term, we are in 3rd term of 2025, and something came up called vetting, to look out for ghost children, ghost teachers, ghost schools, and that verification exercise is taking too long. So far, only around 50% of the schools have been verified, and 50,000 ghost learners have been found to be in those. So most of these schools have not yet received capitation.
Yes.
We are just going by air. Actually, that money would have gone a long way to have so many other schools that have not received capitation. And the truth of the matter is, the issue about capitation is not because they are verifying anything. We have so many systems. Every term, happen to have been a board member of a school, happen to have been a teacher, happen to have been a classroom teacher. We give returns to the government, to the Ministry of Education every month. So there is no way you can say that this is the time you want to verify. The verification exercise is just a cover-up for us to waste time and mark time as we look for money for capitation. So schools have not received capitation. In fact, some schools have not received, all schools have not received some capitation for last year and the other year and the other year. So what we are saying is that money could have done a better job for schools. Yes. But we are Kenyans, we do things differently. There's a man who used to be in one of the companies, he said, Kenyans are peculiar people. Yes. We are peculiar in our behavior. We first think using our stomachs as we go towards our hearts. And I think that's what we are also doing in the education sector.
That's it. Let me begin then on those promises that the president gave out. And I will start with the CBA review cycle and salary realism. Well, the president backed teachers' demand to shorten the collective bargaining agreement review from 4 years to just 2 years. He said shorter CBAs raise expectations for frequent salary reviews, but also create fiscal pressure and planning challenges for the budget. Now the question then should come, how should the Ministry and Treasury redesign budget planning so schools and counties and payrolls are not destabilized with the president's promise?
I get the point. And that goes to your first question. Was it very necessary for us to be there to listen to those promises?
Yes.
Because we have state organs. You not even mentioned one of them called the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. It's a commission independent and in our constitution. You don't talk about CBAs in this country. You don't talk about salary increments for state officers and public servants like us without first and foremost bringing in this SRC.
That's it.
So the SRC was supposed to have even been there that morning. As these promises were being made, the SRC would have said, okay, wait a minute. Let's look at our budget first. Parliamentarians, we have got the Education Committee in Parliament. This committee also looks at our budget allocations and also factors us in when the budgetary process is going on.
That's it.
So also this needed to be done. By the way, the education budget in this country per year of this current budget is 701 billion. 701 billion. That is not small money. That is big money. Now, when you want to add even a shilling to that kind of money, you must have thought very carefully, sat with all the relevant commissions and bodies that work with budgeting before you start talking even of shortening the CBA. Because when you talk about shortening from 4 years, and by the way, we signed this current CBA that we are being told to shorten just a few weeks ago in beginning of August this year. Yeah. Today we are in September. So we are not even a month old in the new CBA, and we are now talking about shortening it. Now, that means you are disorganizing so many other people. Such a promise, you don't make it just before people at such a moment, you have to sit with the relevant authorities. Now, I've said this and I'll repeat it on this show today. The issue with the politicians, but mostly with our president whom we were meeting that day, he speaks more of a faith preacher. It's like one of these miracle workers, you know. When he sees a crowd, he believes that he has seen the people that need help, the way Jesus or somebody would meet them and want to feed them with 5,000 loaves and 2 fish, and then they all get fed, you know. So he will give these promises. I tend to think he does it by what I call personally by faith, you know. You will walk, you will be filled, you know. So he promises us these things the way you'll promise people in a church or in a crusade. You will get the gas by tomorrow, such a time, gas will be lowered, the price of gas will be 100 shillings. You know, these are promises that are done by like a faith preacher. And that's what I tend to think is happening. And the problem with that is that it may be good, but all of us may not be at his level of his faith. SRC may not be at his level of his faith. Teacher Service Commission may not be at his level of his faith. He has faith that I can do this. In the next 1 month, I will change over this. In the next 6 months, we will be able to provide this, the CBC will be running. In the next 2 weeks, gas will be lowered. So at the end of the day, these things don't happen because maybe his faith level is higher than the rest of us. So we go there and we clap and we listen to his promises, but most times those promises don't work because the reality, per ground, it will be different.
So this is the second question that we have to answer on that particular promise for lowering the collective bargaining agreement periods from 4 years to 2 years. But even as we speak now, Mr. Munga, you do know that lecturers in the university just called off their strike the other day. And if you look at what they're complaining about, they're saying that in this country, having a CBA is not a problem, but we are okay with the periods for the CBAs expiring. That the government just would come up with that CBA, good, and tell you it's 2 years, but then once you agree, they will sit back, let that period expire, and then tell you, oh, we can't talk about that because that CBA has already expired, so we need to negotiate on a different CBA. Did he address that?
He didn't address that. And actually, that is the big elephant in the room. Even as we were set out, actually the lecturers had already issued the strike notice. And the day they started their strike is the day the Minister of Education now came out and said, okay guys, I have some little money, 281 million to take care of the remaining balance of the CBA that we talked about. Already the CBA had expired. It was for 2021, 2022. Now it had already expired. These guys were going on saying that the CBA we signed that time has not been honored. So at the end of the day, that's what we are saying. We talk about these things, most of them are promises. Because do we have the money? As a country, when you look at our budgetary allocations, we look at our borrowing levels, when you look at our economy, we have a lot of razzmatazz, color when we are talking about it. But the truth of the matter is that we are borrowing heavily as a country. We need to check how we spend our money. It's like just a person in your house. If you discover you have borrowed from every bank, from every money lending group, and you still want to live large, then you will not manage. And that's what we are doing as a country. And it affects all sectors, not just the education sector, every other sector. So by the time you give teachers a pay rise and you tell them you'll reach another CBA, what about doctors? What about nurses? What about lecturers? So all these people come in again. That's why when the lecturers went on strike, they were like, oh, so you want to give teachers and shorten their CBA? And what about us? We signed a CBA with you guys 4 years ago and you have not honored it. And that's the same thing that will happen with nurses. Next week you'll hear about nurses, you'll hear about doctors, you'll hear about so many other groups that come going on the streets. The issue is we can't keep making statements roadside, or let me nowadays call them state house statements. We have to bring all people on board, not just teachers. For example, we were given a promise that we'll be given houses, 20% of the housing project houses.
It's a good thing. We're going to come back. We're going to come to that.
Yeah.
We're going to come back to that.
So let me just finish by saying,
yes,
these budgetary allocations are hurting not just we teachers. They, at the end of the day, continue to hurt everybody else. Teachers are not the only players in this country. There are other players in this country. We have even the police. We have even the army, military. We have even people to do with in the medical or the health areas. So all these people must be brought aboard. You can't divide and rule. Teachers come, I meet you, I give you something small, you cheer me, you go back home. That's not the way to rule a country.
That's it. Let's talk about the other promise as well, and I want to give you these numbers this morning, Mr. Munga. He promised that in the next financial year, 24,000 teachers, new teachers, are going to get employed. So let's look at where we are in this country in terms of the number of unemployed teachers that we're churning out of universities and colleges. As of mid-2025, we have over 300,000 to over 340,000 teachers who are qualified to take up teaching positions in schools in this country, but they are not employed by the government. But this is also what is a stark reality, is that we have a teacher deficit in this country. Teacher to student ratio in this country is at its worst as it can get. So can you make sense of this number? 24,000 out of the 340,000 teachers that are unemployed as of mid-2025.
Actually, the employment and unemployment of teachers is one of the biggest problems that is facing the education sector. Now, let's get the picture. This is the picture. When we began CBC and began something called junior school, by the way, it was a hot potato in our State House visit, the CBC, the junior school. Junior school is a school by its own. When we talked about junior school, we said let it be domiciled in the primary. So others were saying let it be domiciled in secondary school. But junior school is coming out to become a school on its own. We have got the normal school, primary school, junior school, then we have the high school. The junior school needs teachers properly trained, tooled in how to run it. Now, as a government, we hoodwinked, or we did something called, we employed, in fact, whenever the president talks about, he has already employed 76,000 teachers so far since he came to power. Yes. But we forget that that is a shortfall, a big shortfall, because we began another school that requires almost 200,000 teachers, junior school, just running them across the country. We required a clean 200,000 teachers to add on the very number of teachers that we have. We haven't reached there. That is why you go to junior school, a person who was trained in high school for history CRE, I mean at the university, is teaching biology, chemistry at junior school. That is not allowed. That should not happen. Because a junior school teacher for music should just be a teacher trained properly for music. Now, going back to your question, therefore, is that this employment of 24,000? It's not even employment. It is teachers on contract. It's not even contract. They are calling them interns. Now, that is one of the biggest problems we have, and we have had as unions with the Teacher Service Commission and the current government. An intern is a person who is still on training. These teachers who are being employed to go and run junior school, you cannot call them interns. They have already done their teaching practice. They have already done everything that's supposed to be done. They are now fully fledged teachers. And we have got over 300,000 of them out there waiting to be employed. So when you employ one, what we are calling just 24,000, it is a drop in the ocean. Actually, most of them have got no jobs. And that is the big problem we're having, joblessness. So many teachers, people who are trained as teachers, are out there not having jobs. And many of them are doing nothing. They're going to join some private schools, paid very little money in some of those private schools, and it lowers the quality of education in this country. It is not working, because we have a whole school called junior school that requires teachers. Why don't we employ these teachers? We have a shortage in all high schools. In many schools you go, be it Lenana, be it Alliance, be it a Shivinga Secondary School, we are employing teachers on something called on board, BOM. Why? Because those teachers that the government is sending to our schools to teach are few. They cannot manage the timetable that we have. So that's, employment is still not yet there. There's very little. What is going on cannot meet the needs in the teaching fraternity.
That's it. There's another promise that I really took notice of when the president was talking about it. This is in terms of retirement benefits. It was a big issue. Let me also give you some numbers this morning. If you look at some of the unpaid pension for some retired teachers in Kenya, it remains a persistent issue, Mr. Munga, stemming from a landmark court case where the Supreme Court had ordered that the Teacher Service Commission to pay 42.3 billion shillings in pension and salary arrears to over 52,000 teachers. And that was back in 2020. I was looking at these numbers again. You'll find that in this country, we already do have more than 20,000 teachers again who are already not been onboarded onto their pension payments, that is retirement benefits. And this is what the president promised, and it's a good promise on paper. This is what he said. The president pledged faster payment of retirement benefits for exiting teachers, moving toward a 10-day payment target. That's sweet, Bwana. Why can we not congratulate the president this morning? Yes. I mean, after 10 days of retirement, here is your pension. You're already on it.
And of course, we all know it doesn't happen in this country. It will not happen. You know, some of these promises are just promises. Even the pension department itself in this country knows that cannot happen. Just the paperwork alone and filling in those requirements cannot even take 1 month. The truth of the matter is that once you retire as a teacher, your file leaves the Teacher Service Commission at TSC and is taken to the pension towers, okay, where it's supposed to be now started to be worked on. For most of us teachers who have retired, it takes 10 years, 5 years, 6 years. You have not seen your pension. Your file has not moved. In fact, if there's anywhere right now where corruption really exists in this country, is at the pension department. We have frantic calls. I happen to have worked with unions for many years. Most of our files and most of the work on our desks is helping teachers to get their pension dues. The promise by the president was sweet. 10 working days, and we shall have our pension. Oh, my friend, I wish it was possible. But we know it's not possible because, as I said earlier, these are faith. This is speaking by faith, you know. In 2 days, all cripples will walk. All people who don't have money will be rich. They'll buy cars. These are just faith statements. I don't think they are statements that can work on the ground. Because when he said that, the pension people are not there. The pension department was not as set us with us. They should have been asked, can you manage 10 days? Can you manage to pay teachers in 10 days? We should have had one of them commit and sign on the dotted line that I will do it. So, you know, the problem with promises is this. We don't sign anywhere. We don't, there's nowhere, there's no lawyer, there's no agreement between us and the president that what you have said will hold you accountable, that in 10 days. The only problem is this.
Hold on, so even if the president met these promises, there was nowhere that
there's nowhere we signed.
This is the document.
Yes.
We've met with the teachers of this country,
and
this is exactly what we've agreed on.
Yes.
So you didn't sign?
We didn't sign. And not for you to sign such a document, the people concerned, the pension department, the people of the finance, the Minister of Finance should have been there with us. So that as the president speaks, the Minister for Finance and his department that deals with pension would have been with us on the table, and we sign an MOU saying by such and such a time, 10 days teachers will be receiving their pension. There was no such a agreement. So we call it, as you put it very well, a promise. It's a promise, just a promise. And this country, any promise with politicians, we view it from very far. We don't trust it.
Pretty much. Guess what? There's so many promises I'm going to look at this morning with Mr. Munga. He's saying, well, I do not know whether they're going to work. I mean, the beautiful promises, by the way. If you tell any teacher today in the country that the president is working toward a 10-day retirement benefits payment plan for you, they'll be very happy, because we do know some of them, according to Mr. Munga, even have to wait 5 years, 6 years, 10 years to get on that pension plan. Is it going to work? Once we come back, more promises according to the president. And by the way, he promised an improved medical cover. What do we know this morning? Hospitals, as of this week, are turning away teachers and police officers going by the amount of money that they are owed from the defunct NHIF scheme. So that promise that the president is putting across this morning, and by the headlines that we read this morning about how SHA is failing, and by the way, teachers are supposed to be onboarded into the SHA program by December. But hospitals are saying, no, we don't want it. Pay us fast before you bring us teachers this morning. Let's talk about it once we come back, including a 20% promise for affordable housing in the country. Talk to us at Look Up TV across all your social media platforms.
Taarifa zinapochipuka na kutufikia papa hapa kwenye makao makuu ya chumba cha habari cha runinga ya Look Up, kwenye taifa, kwenye serikali, kwenye bunge, tunajitosa hadi kwenye sauti ya wenyeji ili kupata tu maoni ya wenyeji kuhusu masuala haya yanayochipuka.
Maana hii kitu inaenda kuumiza Mkenya kwa tax.
Hakuna kitu tunafurahia. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Sisi tunaumia, si ati tunaumia ile ya kiukweli. Juu maisha ni ngumu.
Na bila shaka tunapata maoni yao ili sauti yao ipate kusikika. Na watasema hili, waseme lile, watasema hiki na waseme kile, almuradi sauti yao ipate taa.
Mambo ya mafuta tena imekuwa ni changamoto zaidi kwa kila mtu wa bodaboda.
Uchumi ikikuwa stable, tunaamini mambo itakuwa sawa sawa.
Kwanza liko na ria wasa wa boda, mama mboga nini. Hawa sasa ndio wamefinywa zaidi man.
Mtazamaji, hii ni bunge la wenyeji.
I recall the doctor telling me that day, he said, Sarah, I'm sorry about what happened to you, but you see, life happens. You would have to learn to work with your hands. Depend on your hands more.
And today, if you're going through anything that you do not understand, just call on this name, Jesus, and he will save you.
I realized I loved music when I was about 7 or 8. I used to puff my cheeks and play the 12-bar blues. Like I'd walk around the house doing like...
Why do we need the Holy Spirit?
I mean, if you look at what Jesus said when he was leaving, he said he is going and that he will send the Holy Spirit as our helper.
So God knows everything since the end, from the beginning, has a plan for your life. So to find that plan for your life, you must find God. When you find God, you will know the path for your life.
Save a Life is a non-profit organization that has taken the front line in transforming lives in the entire country. So far, we have transformed the life of over 100,000 people through our programs, which include medical support, youth empowerment, street family program, feeding program, and climate change. Join us today as we transform lives. As we always say, service to humanity is service to God. Save a life, transforming lives.
Welcome back to Look Up TV. This is the Morning Drift. Thank you very much for being a part and parcel of our conversation this morning. Let's then jump into the other promises that we have to put into proper perspective this morning that the teachers were given by the president just a fortnight ago. Now, part of those promises were, and I'm going to read it, and the president said that housing will set aside 20% of the affordable housing units that will be reserved for teachers. This is potentially transformative, but raises allocation, eligibility, and affordability questions. Let's see where we are in the country then in terms of The affordable housing units that have been ready, and remember the president and his government promised that they're going to get ready 200,000 units annually ready for consumption in the country. Now let's talk about where we are then in the 3 years that the president has run this particular scheme. While specific numbers actually continue to fluctuate due to ongoing project updates, statements from government officials suggest that the total number of completed units ready for public sale has been in the range of, now wait for it, 4,888 to over 5,000 as of late 2024 and early 2025. While projects like Mukuru in Nairobi are also seeing large-scale handovers of thousands of units. The government aims to construct 200,000 units annually as part of the broader goal to provide decent housing for Kenyans. Good. So far, let's put them to roughly over 5,000 figures, because the numbers have not also been clear from the government. Now the president comes in and says, look here, teachers are hardworking people in this country. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure that 20% of the housing projects that are ready in this country, they'll be set aside for the teachers' uptake. Could you make us understand, how good was that promise? Did the teachers celebrate when the president said that?
Well, I happen to be on so many social medias or groups and WhatsApp groups of teachers. That is one thing they really castigated, the promise. They wondered why we went there to... On that one, by the way, we signed an MOU.
On the
this particular one of the housing,
yes,
somebody from housing by the name P.S. Hinga was available with us. And after we said something about that and the president made the promise, he brought a file and we signed that it will happen. But that is again where in Kiswahili we say kizungumkuti. Because fine, 20% of the housing units. Where are these housing units? We said, as you say, in our campaign strategy for Kenya Kwanza, they said 200 units per year. 200,000 units per year.
Yes.
100,000. Yes, we could, by that we can say several teachers can get a house. But as of now, almost around 5,000 units are what are available. So how many will be available in the next 2 years, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? So when we signed this MOU, it had no timelines. It didn't say by 2027, how many units will have been gone to teachers? There are no timelines. You know, timelines means a good MOU should have a timeline. That by next year, we want to see 20% of you teachers in this country owning houses through the affordable housing scheme. Now, those nitty-gritties are not there. When you go to the dotted line, you have signed something that's so blank. It has no timelines, it has no proper figures. When the word 20% of what? 20% of how many houses? 20% out of how many houses? What about the number that we promised to police officers, also 20%? We promised to football stars. We're going to promise to other people, nurses maybe in future. Sooner or later we're going to give them also to doctors. So after that maybe we shall give to Mama Mboga. Even Mama Mbogas were promised, by the way.
Yes.
But the borders have also been promised those houses. Yes. So at the end of the day, where is the clear arithmetic? So we are signing on something that's not very clear in terms of, okay, 20%. When you use the word 20%, 20% of what? Of how many houses so far? Yes. So at the end of the day, we sign just because of the optics and to be seen that we visited the big man. But when you go to the nitty-gritty, when you want to interpret, when you want to do a forensic audit of what we signed, you will not get anything. In fact, you don't go far. So that's another promise that we can call hot air, because even teachers on their own, they're saying, those teachers are everywhere in this country. If there is somebody who teaches anywhere in the country, it is teachers. Teachers are all over this country. But you cannot build houses, say, in Nairobi or in Nakuru, and teachers are in Huisero. There are no housing projects in Huisero, not even one being built in Huisero or Eshiwinga or Humsalaba. So the teacher in Humsalaba, watapata wapi nyumba hizo? Where are they going to get? So those are the questions they're asking the union officials who signed. By the way, our union officials, since we left State House, have not even slept. They are under danger of being voted out come this year's annual general meeting. Because we are telling them to give us a circular of exactly what they signed. You see, reading it out there the way you are reading it is very easy. But for a teacher is a person who knows how to interpret and interrogate. Teachers are asking us, even on social media, give us the breakdown. How many houses are there so far? How many are you going to give us this year? How many next year? How many the year after? So that we know exactly what you signed. And none of our officials is able to explain that. Because we just signed something that was just hanging. You will get 20% of all our affordable housing units. All are how many? Where are they found? Who has built them? Who has the title deeds? Where are the title deeds for those houses? Who owns them? Will we have a title to those units? And those kind of questions, no union official can answer. Yes. Maybe the president alone.
Yes. Somebody yesterday told me to get this percentage to you this morning. That 20% of 200,000 is 4,000. Yes. So according to that promise then, all the affordable housing units that are currently ready in the country, they should be taken up by the teachers.
That's what it means. And that is actually, it means that the current 4,000 or 5,000 are available are supposed to be ours. What about the police who are also promised? What about the Harambee Stars players who are also promised? What about Mama Mbogas and Boda Bodas? So it is just a promise. And at the end of the day, actually, you can't tie down the person who made the promise, because when you look at the document that we signed, it didn't say how long. So if it is for this year, the ones that are available, we'll have taken all of them. So because they didn't say this year, so that means it could be 2050, 2060, 2090, when they'll be ready. That's when the teachers will get their 20%. And so when you don't have clear facts,
yes,
clear MOUs, then it's just what we call hot air. And that's why we are voting out some of our, if you go around, even if you look at on social media, Collins Oyu, my friend, the Secretary General of NAT, he's under fire. He has even switched off his phone. Omboko Milemba, the chairman of Kupet, my friend, and almost my village mate, teachers went to his house in Emuhaya and asked him, show us these houses that you signed in State House. To Zikoapi, we want to be among the first to receive them. He has no house to show any teacher that he can give. So simply, those promises, the bad thing about it is that they are going to affect our unions, and they're going to affect our union leaders in a bad way. As much as we shall hold the president accountable when it comes to us in 2027 for votes, even our union leaders will have a big problem with us. They need to get a proper breakdown of what we were promised and give us a circular from the union headquarters. This is what you are promised, and this is what you are receiving.
That's it. Pretty much. Let's move then to the next promise. And that one is a controversial as well, going by how the healthcare system in the country is faring on right now because of the mass movement and testing of the SHA health scheme. And this is what the president promised. This is what he said. The president promised improved medical cover for teachers to match civil servant benefits. Health cover is a real non-wage benefit that affects teacher retention and welfare. Let's begin from there. We do know that as of this December, all the teachers in the country are supposed now to move on to the new SHA healthcare system in the country. But going by the headlines this morning that we're reading, and let me just jump again for the benefit of our viewers who've not essentially known what the headlines are speaking about this morning on SHA. This is the big headline on the Nation, Mr. Munga. Yes. Teachers, they're the first ones. Yes. Teachers, police face SHA medical crisis.
Yes.
And this is the reason the hospitals in the country are saying, we've got no problem with treating teachers and police in the country. No. But can you tell us how you're going to pay 33 billion shillings that you owe to the hospital facilities in this country from the defunct NHIF that the country has been running over this period? Guess what? Those answers, by the way, if you listen to the health ministry, they are not coming forth. All that we're getting told is that, listen, we need to move into SHA. As of yesterday, if you look at some of the reports that the media outlets are carrying over in the country, some hospitals are actually turning away teachers and patients, and they're telling them, good, you're paying, fine, but whatever you're paying right now really can't help this hospital because of the amount of debt that your profession carries from NHIF. So pay cash if you want to get treated. What's that promise? What do you put that promise going by the Shah headlines this morning?
Actually, according to our research, as you introduced me earlier, I'm a researcher in the education sector.
Yes.
When we arrived at State House, none of our union leaders mentioned our medical cover or said it has any problem. It was not any of our queries. The teachers who also sent us the agenda to take to State House did not mention the medical cover. But when we arrived at State House, the president took it upon himself. In fact, he was the first one to speak. The moment he walked in, he got motivated to, when we started shouting two-term, he felt he needs to now address us quickly and make promises that can make us even sing even 4-term or 5-term. So in the process now, the president immediately told us that even your medical cover, I will be addressing you about it because it has issues. I want to change it. I want it to be better.
So he knows that it's got issues.
Yes. So he starts to tell us about the medical cover, which we had not asked him. We as teachers had not gone to State House to talk about our medical cover. It was the agenda of the president. So to us, finally, when we looked at our researchers, we discovered the main agenda why we arrived at State House that day was not about these other things that talk about housing and those other promises that we were given. The main agenda, which the president took 19 minutes to talk about, was the medical cover. And the president took issue with the current medical cover, which is mainly run by a group called Minet. And he talked about why it delays, why sometimes the authorization takes a long time. And he talked about all these kind of things and said, it's not a good cover. We can do a better cover for you now. To talk it to see talk it. Now there's something we call, in politics, we call acclamation. When you bring the delegates, those people who are invited there were delegates of teachers' unions from the grassroots. So the president did something called acclamation. He wanted to get consensus from the teachers. Can we move you out? And the teachers who were there stood up and said, yes. I was seated, I looked around, I said, my friends are all rising to say, yes, let us move out of this medical cover. What they did not know at that very moment is move out to where? And as days have gone by, we have come to discover the TSC commissioner, the TSC CEO was at Parliament and was asked what she says about this moving out. And she said, we are transferring teachers by this December, so that in January they are under SHA. When teachers heard the word SHA, my phone has not stopped ringing. Our social media handles have not stopped working because teachers are asking us, you move us from the fire to the frying pan? And that is what the headline you have read is saying. Teachers under Minet have been able to access private hospitals. Teachers and police have been under one medical cover in the Minet one. We are able to access Aga Khan's. We're able to access the West Nairobi hospitals. We're able to access all these kind of medical places because there is a comprehensive, it's called a comprehensive medical cover. SHA is a national medical cover. Now the package that SHA has cannot even reach anywhere near the package that we have been having. We have been enjoying something called last expense, whereby if a teacher passes when you are on duty or a police officer passes away on duty, the family, first of all, enjoys some money for the burial and enjoys also some money called last expense. It's an insurance. That is not in SHA. We have been enjoying dental and optical covers up to certain amounts per teacher. And by the way, every teacher is given 5 members of your family. 4 children and a spouse are able also to be covered under that SHA medical cover. That is not being addressed in SHA. Minet has been giving us that. Yes. We have also been getting something called maternity care, mental health. Mental health is a big issue right now in the teaching profession. And mental health awareness and care this cover that we have been having called Minet has a package on that. SHA has not addressed us about that. There's nowhere in SHA we are told about issues to do with mental health, how they deal with it. There's something called evacuation. If a teacher is affected while, say, in Kakamega, we have a package with that outgoing cover that they're calling Minet. You can be airlifted, not only to Nairobi, to even hospitals in India and hospitals in Germany, and several teachers have enjoyed those benefits. SHA has not told us what they're going to do about that. So teachers are asking a very simple question. You want to take us to SHA, but you're not telling us the package. And then the final thing that I can tell you, a comprehensive medical cover like what Minet has, which also parliamentarians enjoy and other people in this government enjoy, apart from SHA, SHA is national, is mandatory. All of us are deducted money for SHA. Teachers are deducted, workers like you and I are deducted some money from our salary to go to SHA. But for the comprehensive medical cover, teachers were enjoying something called medical allowance. So that money was removed from our pay slips, and it was joined together for us to get a medical package called Minet. We call it comprehensive medical cover. Now, what teachers are saying is this: we are already being deducted SHA. Now, if you are removing us from Minet to SHA, does that mean you are going to return the money that we have been enjoying which we used to enjoy called medical allowance? Is it coming back to our pay slip? And we have been told it's not coming back. So already we are seeing question marks. Now, well, this is what we thought and what we are thinking. The meeting at State House was not about these other promises, 10 promises. It was about somebody wanting to move the teachers 300. And by the way, the medical cover for teachers is 19.7 billion annually. That's the money that Minet receives from TSC every year to cover us comprehensively. So somebody somewhere has seen where this money is and what can be done about it. And we want to say, just the way you didn't mention so many things about, you mentioned something that is trending called Adani. Yes. Anytime you see our dear government push an agenda so hard, there are some financial interests. Why would we want to remove teachers from their own comprehensive medical cover that they have been enjoying for the last 7 years to push them to a national cover without properly telling them the package that they're going to enjoy there?
But the president has said that he's not just going to move them. This is what he said, that he's going to make sure that every teacher's cover in the country matches the benefits of a civil servant in this country. Is that not promise enough?
That's a very nice one. The civil servants had a comprehensive medical cover of their own. Yes. But at one point, they decided to join NHIF. That time, it was known as NHIF. Yes. That's what is calling a medical cover equivalent to the civil servants. The civil servants themselves, and we can Google, have even threatened to go on strike many times because of that comprehensive medical cover that was being run by NHIF. Because it was not working. They were restricted to 3 hospitals near your workstations. Yes. You are restricted to so many other issues. The drugs and the many delays that go with NHIF. Actually, those problems that NHIF had were also affecting the medical cover for civil servants. Yes. Now, that simply means we inherit the same problems that were in NHIF in SHA. Okay, teachers are not believing what the president said. I want to say, that's why the headlines are reading very clearly. It's a crisis because we as teachers of this country have made it very clear. Yes. We cannot be taken to SHA without getting a clear direction on what we're going to do there. Yes. If SHA is having these kind of problems, they're having problems to do with paying private hospitals, having problems with paying their debts that were accumulated before in NHIF. We are not fools. Teachers are not, and teachers' lives matter. As teachers, we are threatening like this, and we have told our unions. Yes. We will go on strike as teachers if we are taken to SHA without properly being told where the money goes, where it's coming from, and what services and the package that we shall enjoy there. This time we're going to sign some empty MOUs. We don't want promises. Our lives as teachers matter. Lives of police officers also matter. If you want to give them a medical cover, we want to know the nitty-gritties. We want to know all the interested parties. And we want to know why you are removing us from the one we have been having, taking us to another one. And if there are differences or positives of the one you are taking to us to, give those profits to, not promises, but let it be written in blue and white, white and black. What exactly are we going to get? Our maternity care, our opticals, our dental, our evacuation processes. Yes. If SHA cannot be able to do it right now to the rest of Kenyans, where is the promise that they'll do it for teachers and for police officers? We are not boarding.
That's it. Pretty much. Let's move to the second one as well. The next promise of the president, and probably this might excite teachers who are listening to us this morning, and probably you then help us put it into a proper perspective. Now, we do know that in July 2025, Teacher Service Commission signed a new 2025-2029. So probably now we should be saying 2025-2027, because the president promised that it's going to come back to 2 years. A CBA with unions increasing the lowest paid teachers' salaries from around 23,000 to approximately 29,000 shillings, a rise of about 6,000 shillings. Well, we have to note that some teachers noted small increases of around 500 shillings. A larger increase of up to 29.6 was given to lower cadre teachers. You'll find that this 29%, if you're earning more already, then you find that that percentage is really small in terms of the amount of money that you're going to get. So people got pay raises from up to 500 shillings 36. To around 6,000 shillings.
Some got 36 shillings.
That's it. So some people said, well, if you also take into account then the increase in payee bands in the country, depending on exactly how you look at it, the payment of the affordable housing, then they would take home 6 shillings, 36 shillings, some of them 100 shillings. But notice what the president said. Look here, what we're going to do is increase the promotion payouts to the Teacher Service Commission from 1 billion shillings to 2 billion shillings, so that in the event we announce an increase percentage, then once you do that with the 2 billion shillings already at the promotion kitty, then probably these amounts that we're talking about here this morning are going to be quite significant.
Yes.
I believe, Mr. Munga, that then would be quite a good thing to take home.
Wow, it sounds so nice. It sounds excellent. Actually, the president thinks ahead of us. He thinks even better than the unions, because we as unions are not thought about that. Yes. The problem is, do we believe him? Because such a statement cannot be made just from State House. It must be made with SRC in mind, Salaries and Remuneration Commission. It should be made with Parliament Finance and Budgetary Committee available with us. They should be there with us. It should be made also with the TSC. TSC has got people who are able to look at the figures and determine what. You see, you can say 2 million. What about if it's less or more? So at the end of the day, these are figures that the president threw at us, threw at SRC, threw at TSC, threw at Parliament. But again, as I've told you, he said, and he told us that, I want you, your union officials, to meet relevant authorities or committees so that we can make sure that this works. Now I want to tell you, it's almost 2-3 weeks since we left State House. So far, nothing. Nobody has met us, apart from the minister who called the union officials to his office to thank them for having ferried us to State House, and that we behaved well, and that we were able to shout, and we didn't misbehave. Nothing else has happened. No, SRC has not met us. Nobody from the budget committee of the Parliament Finance Committee has met us. Let me say this. Those figures the president threw around at us, they sound nice. But when you go to sit down and think about it, if you reduce our CBA for 2 years for teachers, what about doctors? What about nurses? What about other officers, civil servants who have also signed CBAs with this government? If anything like that was to happen, even SRC itself will have a problem, because SRC has to balance all of us, including even MCS. MCAs, their salaries, even members of parliament, is determined by this SRC animal here. Before SRC is involved, for the president to make such a statement, he should have called the SRC chairperson, I don't know, and told her, can you address the teachers on this issue that I've talked about? Is it possible? Nothing like that happened. So before we receive a statement like that from SRC, that statement by the president is illegal. It is illegal. Somebody can challenge it in court. That is why the president makes statements, and after a few days, somebody goes to court and gets the constitutional interpretation and is nullified. Those statements and those promises, and I want to say it on this show, most of those promises, if somebody was to go to court today, they'll be nullified and said null and void, hot air. Because you are not able to tell teachers that I will reduce your CBA in 2 years. The president doesn't have that kind of authority. That authority lies with the independent constitutional body known as SRC. It lies with parliament. It lies with the budgetary committee. It doesn't lie with the president. So it's a good statement. Teachers heard it, but as researchers and people who know how to read the future, we can tell you null and void.
So let's then take 2 minutes, as the only time that we have left for this conversation this morning, to put into perspective why the president called 10,000 teachers to State House to speak to them. To you, from where you're seated this morning, Mr. Munga, as we clear this conversation and take those 2 minutes, why did the president call 10,000 teachers to State House to give them a 10 agenda-based promises?
Very good question. The president called 10,000 teachers to State House for optics for 2027 and for the by-elections that are coming very soon. Teachers play a very critical role in our villages, in places where we come from. Teachers are the opinion shapers. Teachers are the people who even sometimes, if you are not aware, they handle the IEBC. Many of them are normally recruited to be the ones who become returning officers. They're the ones who are recruited to become the people who do agents and all these kind of things. Teachers are very important in the political sphere of this country. Teachers are the key cog when it comes to, if you want to reach out to the grassroots levels, to the people who are in the grassroots levels. The president needs teachers. He needs teachers to stand with him, to sell his manifestos and his agendas. Now, we all know that most of his manifestos and promises that he has made to this country, many of them have not yet materialized. Yes. But for him to sell it properly to the Kenyans, he needs teachers. He needs them to come around, have lunch or have breakfast with him, and enjoy the ambience of State House. However, and I want to say this as we end, the problem that the president was not well advised by his advisors. Teachers are also the most critical people in this country. They are the people you cannot joke with. A teacher is a person, I've worked with them in the staff rooms. They question everything. They question even every cent. We are the people who are the most accountable people in this country. It's very hard to bribe a teacher. It's very hard to go to school and bribe a teacher. Actually, the opportunity to bribe a teacher is normally null and void. The token you are given at State House was not a bribe, that was just a token. So I want to say this to the national TV. The president may live to regret the day he met us at State House, September 2025. Because if he doesn't deliver those 10 points that he told us, if he thinks that we are the mamambogas and the hustlers that he was dealing with when he's campaigning in 2022, if he imagines that we, teachers, are the people you can promise heaven, you can promise like a faith preacher that you will walk, all cripples will walk, all teachers will earn in 2 years, and then he doesn't do it. If he doesn't deliver the pension, a 10-day pension to every teacher, he doesn't deliver the health, if he doesn't deliver the CBA as he has promised, I'm sorry, Mr. President, you will face us in 2027 and you will regret.
I'll see you tomorrow for another session. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiag.